Welcome to Real Estate Exposed, helping people in San Diego buy, sell, and refinance their biggest investment, delivering you timely truths, exposing important issues, and helping you get into the right home. Here are your hosts, real estate expert Daniel Beer, top-ranked professional by sales volume at one of San Diego's largest brokerages, and his mortgage partner, Todd Pianin, with over $2 billion in funded loans.
Wow, $2 billion in funded loans.
It's a lot of loans, Dan. It's a lot of loans.
Hey, we're excited to be back with you on Sunday morning. Real Estate Exposed, a lot going on out there. And we have a jam-packed show for you today. We're going to be completely just throwing a pie in the face of the appraisal industry. Okay?
We're going to talk about the appraisal industry.
Todd's going to talk. I'm going to throw pies. Because we have Josh Altman of $1 Million Listing coming up on one of our shows here very shortly. When is that, Todd?
September 20th.
September 20th. Josh Altman in studio, and because of that, we are actually going to go through reality TV, real estate, what's real, what's not, because, face it, there's a lot of, it's part of the reality is reality and part isn't. Which is it? I'll demystify that for you and answer a lot of questions we're commonly asked.
I'm so excited about you and Josh Altman in the studio together. That's going to be so much fun.
It is. An interesting thing about him is that my brother, who is in the real estate industry at one of the biggest luxury agencies in Beverly Hills, he's told, well, I'm going to revise what he's told me because he's just told me he's a great guy.
Good.
All right, so moving on here. Finally, we're going to talk about agent quality. There is a big gripe I have with the real estate agent community. I'm sorry, but after what I've been seeing day in, day out, visiting with home sellers, we need to up the game here, raise the bar, and I'm going to call out agents in our community that need to, frankly, get with it. Not all. There's some wonderful people out there, some highly professional people. Some people that I admire, some people I esteem, some people I mastermind with that do great work for you. But we need to raise the bar, folks. So we're going to jump into that. But there's a lot going on just
out in the world right now.
Out in the world. What's going on, Todd?
Well, one of your favorite people in the world is still leading in the polls. That's the Donald. I love the Donald.
I love how sweaty he looks.
Well, I love his message. He's talking to the people, Dan. That's why he's doing so well. I mean,
wait a second. Hold on. You officially love his. Wait, does Todd Pianin officially endorse Donald Trump? You love his message?
I love his message. I love his honesty.
Do you have a bumper sticker on your car?
Not yet.
Okay, let's move on.
But I mean, he's doing a good job. He's doing a good job. And if you look, also Ben Carson is also doing a good job. And the two of them are out there actually talking to the people about real issues and real things that are in people's mind's eye. I mean, he called the China issue. I mean, he's talking about immigration. He's talking about, he may not have specific plans, but he's not acting like a normal politician who is trying to just pander for votes, in my opinion.
Is that sort of like saying, hey, the quarterback of the Dallas Cowboys, like he might not necessarily like have a good arm, but at least the team likes him, and he's really good to have a beer with?
Well, the quarterback of the Dallas Cowboys is Tony Romo, and he's my favorite quarterback. So we'll choose a different example, but yes.
I wasn't actually talking about Tony Romo. I was just using a proverbial sort of placeholder for an American footballer.
But one of the things that I think, Dan, is that if you look at the Donald, I mean, he's run successful businesses like you. He has a team around him. His children have all been very successful. He's done a very good. I mean, so if he does win the nomination and if he does stay in the race, I mean, can you think about who could be in his cabinet? He's going to hire smart people.
Here's what's for sure. We're talking about him right now.
Right.
My liberal friends put things up about him, sometimes negative,
right.
On Facebook or whatever it might be, but they're talking about him.
Right.
He's completely just captured the attention of the American public from in every corner, and even an unlikely source, right? Because now even the evangelical Christian contingent in America, voting bloc, is actually showing out for him in very, very large numbers as he starts to tour the Bible Belt. Right. And they're coming out in support, and he's becoming one of their favorites despite his boisterous nature.
Right.
His lack
of plan, actually.
Lack of modesty.
Right.
I mean, there's certain value clashes there, yet they're now seeming to be completely engrossed in Mr. Trump. So it's quite interesting, and it's certainly made for a fun summer.
What do you think he's going to run?
Run what?
Do you think he's actually going to stay in the race the whole way?
Well, I do. Is there a reason I shouldn't?
I don't know. A lot of people are saying this is just him, self-promoting. So I'm just curious what your thought is.
I'd be extremely surprised. What you just said may have been the original plan, or it might have just been kind of like his fallback position for his ego.
Right.
But at this stage in the game, regardless of what he may say publicly, I'm sure he didn't expect to be where he is, and he's just way too deep. I mean, if he were to back out at any point now,
right,
then he's not who he's made himself out to be.
Agreed. No, I agree. I think he's going all the way. I mean, that's what I think, but we'll see what happens. I mean,
are you calling all the way? Are you calling a win?
I don't know who the Democrats are going to put up, so I can't tell you that yet. Because there's a lot of talk about, Biden jumping into the race. There's this Clinton gate going on. We got all that kind of fun stuff. But let's talk about gates. Let's talk about the Deflate Gate, shall we, with Tom Brady. It was announced this week that a judge overturned his 4-game suspension. I mean, it's unbelievable. I mean, for those of you who are football fans out there, I mean, this is a big game changer, because I think that Vegas probably thought, wow, we're not going to have Tom Brady for the first 4 games. This could be a big problem for the Patriots to make it to the Super Bowl.
Beyond the football implications involved, and who's more likely to win and who's not, what do you see? What's the effect of this decision just from I don't know, on a social level, right? On there's a cheating element. He's been now heavily suspected. He's been excused. Is it correct to excuse him? Because there isn't any actual concrete evidence. There's not anything completely just, he wasn't videotaped doing it.
Right.
Is it the right thing, the wrong thing? What kind of messages is sending young people? Is what does this say about big business and the Kraft relationship with the NFL, front office and Mr. Goodell? What's your interpretation of all that, Todd?
I think that the whole thing is bad, right? I mean, especially because you and I both have kids, right? And Tom Brady is probably going to be in the Hall of Fame, and he's going to be somebody that's going to be admired, and he's going to be, looked up to. And I think when someone does something wrong, even some suspicion on it, I think that it's just not the right thing. I mean, but I think that what Goodell did was just too much. I mean, 4-game suspension was just too much. 1-2 games, he probably would have just put his head down and said no problem. But 4 games was a lot.
So there you have it. I mean, it looks like we might have a conclusion to Deflate Gate.
Yep.
And there's other things actually that are out there deflated. This is Real Estate Exposed, News Radio 600 KOGO. I'm Dan Beer, Todd Pianin, and we're talking about what else is deflated. It's our inventory.
What's going on with that, Dan?
There's very little for sale. We've been talking about that over and over throughout the year, but it just continues to be it continues to lead the headlines and lead the story of what's happening in our real estate market. Just last night, I was asked, what do you see happening with the real estate market? And the conversation invariably comes back to, we have so little for sale right now that unless there's some kind of tremendous spike in interest rates, and I'm not talking about a gradual rise, but unless there's a tremendous spike that really gives shock to the market,
it's not going to happen.
We're at 2 months inventory, folks. If you're thinking of selling your home, I mean, there's never been this exact environment. I mean, this is a very unique point in time. Low inventory, highly advantageous for you selling into the market. And then when you go and buy, well, you're going to buy with an interest rate that doesn't typically exist in a strong economy with low inventory.
Exactly, and I don't see interest rates rising anytime soon. I think that I think a lot of people though are focused in on 30-year fixed rates, which I think they shouldn't. I think they should look at like the short, long-term fixed-rate loans like the 7-year and the 10-year, I think you're going to get more value for your money, and you actually pay more principal down on those loans.
You need to have somebody help you navigate this, okay? Because you need to understand how to take advantage of that low inventory environment, but control both sides of the transaction so you can actually buy into something while trying to figure out, with the low inventory that we have. So you need somebody that's going to actually help you navigate that, put a plan together, and be able to dig up fresh inventory for you.
I love working with your team because you take the listings and then Brian they sell their house and then Brian flips them over to us, or one of your buyer's agents flip them over to us, and it's great. I mean, it's been really, really good.
Well, if you want to look at putting together your own personal blueprint and you need to talk real estate, or you need to talk about loans, refinancing, putting together a purchase plan, qualifying for a loan, whatever it may be, and you want us personally to sit down with you and put a plan together, call us. 800-676-2420. I'm Daniel Beer, the number one sales associate at Windermere across San Diego County. This is Todd Pianin, branch manager and VP of Home Street Bank.
Yep.
You're going to get some great personalized advice. We're happy to sit down with you. The phone number is 800-676-2420. 800-676-2420. This is Real Estate Exposed. And coming up next, we're going to bust the appraisal industry. Appraisals have me worked up.
Yeah, Dan, something happened this week?
This is Real Estate Exposed. News Radio 600 KOGO. I'm Daniel Beer with Windermere Real Estate, Todd Pianin, Home Street Bank. And man, appraisals just have me worked up.
I can see that. So what happened this week, Dan, that you're so worked up about appraisals?
Man, all right. I'll give you all the detail on what's been going on,
right,
why I'm worked up on it. I need to understand from you first, what's going on in the appraisal industry? Okay, what does that appraisal process look like today? What did it used to look like?
Mm-hmm.
What does that imply? What changes should we look for?
So pre-crisis, we'll talk pre-mortgage crisis, okay? We were able to, the banker or the mortgage broker was able to order the appraisal directly from the appraiser. And you're able to use good appraisers. I mean, smart appraisers who you used, commonly over and over and over again. And, you would tell them the sales price of the home, and the goal would be for them to either, they would be working towards hitting the sales price. They knew the neighborhood. You knew which appraiser you would use for each neighborhood, and they would get all the fee. So basically, if you did an appraisal fee for $450, basically the appraiser would get the whole $450. Today, post-crisis, what happens is that you have to go through, not at Home Street. We don't have that. We have our own. The majority of the appraisal goes to the appraisal fee goes to the appraiser. But at most big banks and also lenders that when you broker a loan, they have to go through what's called an AMC, which is basically means a third-party source that will farm out the appraisal. And the AMCs are for-profit companies. So if you take a $450 appraisal fee, how much do you think, Dan, that the appraiser actually makes of that $450 fee?
You'd like to think that they're making, I don't know, $300?
Yeah, they're not between $175 and $200.
That's what the guy actually spending the time to appraise is going to take with him.
Correct, and so the AMC is going to pick up the difference.
Okay.
So how long do you think it takes an appraiser to actually do an appraisal?
I would think 3 hours.
Okay. I would say it probably takes, with drive time and measuring and everything else, it could be 8 to 10 hours. So these guys have to do a lot more appraisals, and they're making a lot less money, and it's just causing a big problem. I mean, the big banks, if you look at like a Wells Fargo or if you look at a Bank of America, they have their own AMCs, and they're profit-driven. Those are profit-driven companies. Wells Fargo, I'm not bashing Wells Fargo by any stretch of the imagination, but last year Wells Fargo made $300 million on their appraisal division.
Todd won't because he's in the banking industry, but I will.
So what happened this week,
Man,
Dan?
I can't stand it when a buyer brings me a Wells Fargo pre-approval letter. There's just nothing worse for us. This isn't Todd speaking. Todd is a very PC-oriented, neutral man, respecting his industry. Dan Bier, he can't stand it. Can't stand it because those are the loans that always have something come up last minute.
So part of the problem too, Dan, is that you're getting, when you get these AMCs, because they're paid so little now on the appraisals, they don't spend as much time on the appraisal as they would have in the past because they have to do more appraisals to make more money, right? So if they're basically getting paid 50% of what they used to get paid, then they're going to probably spend 50% of their time on the appraisal.
Look, the whole thing starts to make sense to me, right? Because let's put this all into perspective. Appraisals in San Diego County, because there's appraisals,
right?
And there's appraisals in a place like San Diego County, in a neighborhood like downtown, Mission Hills, Chula Vista, Escondido. I mean, populated places. Rancho Bernardo, Del Mar.
Right.
Okay. Homes in our county aren't invisible. There are 3 million people surrounding these homes.
Correct.
There is a visible market. There's 20,000 realtors, for God's sake, orienting people toward these homes.
Right.
And then the buyers, all of these buyers, the seller, their agents, everybody, okay, are figuring out value.
Right.
That is what I would call the market.
Correct.
I'd say that the market is establishing value.
Not an appraiser.
And what I'm hearing from you is that Mr. Appraiser, who gets paid whatever he gets paid, even if he kept the whole $400, okay, from the appraisal, which he doesn't.
Right.
But even if he did.
Well, they do with our bank, by the way.
They do with yours.
Yes.
Okay. But let's say that he was coming from a Wells Fargo or from a big, one of these major institutional banks, and they're not keeping the whole fee. But again, that's even besides the point for the moment here, because even if they kept the whole fee, you're telling me, do you believe, okay, if you're selling your home right now and you establish value with the buyer, with the entire market, you possibly hired us to run our entire 5-day blitz marketing program. We had 30, 40 people in your home. They decide, along with yourself, along with your agents, that the value is, for the sake of argument, $500,000. And then Mr. Appraiser comes over, doesn't exactly even know where your home is located, punches your address into his GPS, drives 45 minutes to get to you, is in a neighborhood he's not familiar with, and all of a sudden is going to tell us, in exchange for a $200, $300, $150, whatever the size of his check is going to be, all of a sudden tells all the rest of us that the value we've established, that the market has established. This isn't an ego thing for me. I'm talking about that the market has established value.
Correct.
And this individual called appraiser,
right?
But actually, his real name is John. And he's into pizza and cartoons, or maybe he likes adult shows like Crossfire on CNN. Whatever he's into. At the end of the day, this appraiser, whose real name is John or Jim or George, just like any of the rest of us, he tells us what the real value. He lets us know that the real value is actually $495, not $500.
Right.
We were all wrong by $5,000.
Right.
How does he know, Mike? I mean, how does he know?
He's going off of comps. He's going off of comps.
That's my favorite.
He's going off of comps.
And nothing else.
Right.
Going off of comps and nothing else.
Right.
Which we all know, if you those of you that have reached out to me for advice in the past, or perhaps we've worked together, you know very well that's how we establish record prices for sellers. There's a lot more to it than comps.
Correct.
There's positioning, absorption rates, listed sales price ratios, days on market. There is natural price ceilings for each neighborhood. There's a lot more to consider than comps. And frankly, I'm pissed because very recently we listed a house for $540,000, got 6 offers, sold it for $570,000,
right.
$30,000 above the ask. We had 2 offers at $570,000, and Mr. Appraiser told us it was worth $540,000. Well, the end of the story is that Mr. Buyer, he knew it was worth more. We ended up settling the thing out at $560,000. He was still willing to pay $20,000 over appraised value, but it cost the seller $10,000. That pisses a guy off. Call me. Let's put together your personal plan. 800-676-2420, or you might be looking to establish a loan plan. That number, talk to me or Todd, 800-676-2420. Coming up next, we're going to bust the reality TV show myths. What's real, what's not. All right, we're back with you. I'm Daniel Beer, Windermere Real Estate, and Todd Pianin right here of Home Street Bank. And we're going to have fun with you here for this segment, reality TV, real estate reality TV, what's real and what's not.
Yeah, so talk to me about this, Dan. So, I mean, I, as everybody knows who listens to the show, I'm a reality TV junkie, just like our boy Mike, who's our producer in the back that we're going to call out. But, I mean...
Todd, the more you share about your private life with the audience, I mean... We have to start to be careful. Here's what we know about you so far.
Yes.
Reality TV show junkie.
Yes.
Comic book nut.
Nerd.
What else is there? There's
Star Wars.
Obsessed with Donald Trump.
and love the Cowboys. They're America's team.
Cowboy loving fool.
Let's get back on subject. Let's get back on track. Let's not talk about.
And for all those reasons, I love you.
I appreciate that. I love you too. So, Dan, I mean, when I watch these shows, it seems to me, and I've been doing this a long time, but it seems to me that it seems a little wonky. I'm going to use the word wonky because, I mean, how many times have you presented a counteroffer at a high-end restaurant to one of your sellers? I mean, you take them to a nice dinner. You take them to like let's call it a $200 plate dinner and sit them across the table, and that's how you present your counteroffer to them. And you sit there, and they immediately go, the list price could have been, let's call it $1 million, and they offer $970, and the person goes, I want full price. You told me I get full price.
Yeah, I love that one, right? Because look, I'll admit, if there's reality TV that I enjoy, it is $1 Million Listing.
Right.
And it's exciting. We're going to have Josh Altman in studio September 20th. We're going to be right here sitting with him discussing real estate. It's going to be a great conversation. But obviously, he's the star of $1 Million Listing LA.
Right.
And man, I'll tell you, it just always cracks me up when they're sitting, for every possible step of every transaction, these supposedly extremely, and I'm not saying supposedly because they're not busy. They actually are.
They're super successful.
Super.
Right.
Josh Altman crushes it.
Right.
Okay? The guy is a killer. The guy is good.
Right.
He crushes it. So that's why I find it just a little bit difficult to believe that he has time to sit down for a full-blown meal for every counteroffer that takes place in a 6 counteroffer transaction.
Right.
That's one of my favorites. So folks.
So you don't do that, Dan?
I don't. He doesn't. The industry doesn't. Okay. So just in case you've always wondered, is that really how real estate deals get negotiated? The answer is no. Okay. The answer is no. Okay. Josh is probably in his office. He's sitting down. He's handling business. He makes a phone call, presents whatever needs to be presented, gets instructions, and then moves forward. Because otherwise, he wouldn't have even a fraction of the production that he does.
Well, here's another question I have for you. So it never seems like there's any paperwork.
Right, that's my favorite.
I mean, they sit down for a listing presentation, and I've bought and sold homes before, and it seems like I have to sign something. And I mean,
yeah, you think?
Yeah, I mean, it seems like they never sign anything. And they never explain to the people what they're signing. I mean, California. It's a long contract.
I love this, right? I mean, when I first started watching $1 Million Listing, it was like, wow. I mean, I'm in California too,
right?
But maybe it's different in LA. Maybe I should move to LA because I don't like paperwork. Maybe I should move there, and apparently you can just do a deal, like, talking to someone, like sitting down with your client, getting instruction, going in the other room, having a little quick conversation. The other agent, by the way, miraculously answering the phone every single time you call.
And responding within minutes, right?
Within like moments, knows exactly what his client wants to do, because his client, of course, isn't busy and doing a whole lot of things and can be reached on in an instant. So I love it. I'm like, man, I might want to move to LA if that's how it's done there.
Right.
Well, credit to them. They do a very good job of producing the show. It almost looks like that's how it really happens.
Right. It's not.
So no, folks, this is not at all how it goes down. Okay, it's not how it goes down whatsoever. There's a lot of paperwork involved. We make it easy on you. We have ways of handling it electronically. You don't have to come in. We make it easy. You can handle it from home, right from your email. But of course, we have to actually get things in writing. In writing is key, because what really more than anything gets me about that is they'll do the deal. Right? They'll do the deal and they start hugging and kissing each other and celebrating, and they're basically already spending their commission.
Right.
At least they make it seem that way. I know they're not.
Right.
When you've talked, when you hear Josh Altman on September 20th, you'll find out the dude is sharp. But it makes it seem like they're already spending their commission, or like, it's already in the bank. And the reality is that it isn't done until it's done. It is. They do not have a deal until they go back to the office and actually get the paperwork together.
Wait a minute. You're saying you don't accept a verbal counteroffer, Dan? That for you don't go to your seller with a verbal counteroffer?
So if I was going to present something to my seller that was given to me verbally by the other agent, first of all, I'd do it extremely delicately, and I would not frame it in terms of, hey, you have a deal. At most it'd be, look, I just spoke to the other agent. Here's what they're saying. Let's see if it comes through.
Right.
Don't, this is only half news. It's not full blown news yet. Let's see if it actually comes through. Let's make sure they don't change anything. Let's see what the terms are. Let's make sure they don't sneak anything in.
Right.
And once we've gone through that, then we can feel like we have a deal.
So
kind of, right? Because then we still have to navigate the entire transaction and actually get through it.
So if I called you up and told you I got loan approval verbally, but I haven't got it in writing yet, would you release your loan contingency for the client?
Say that one more time.
So if I called you up,
Yeah.
or not me, let's just say anybody else, anyone called you up and said to you, hey Dan, I got a verbal loan, I haven't got it in writing yet, but these guys are approved.
Got it. No, right? We'd wait till you have it. We'd wait till you have it, not because you're misleading me. I mean, first of all, you never make that call. You let me know that when you're really actually ready.
When I have it in writing, right?
And then we move forward. Because that leads to another myth here. Real estate, real estate myth number 3. When they make a deal, let's assume it's actually been put in writing.
Right.
When they make a deal, that's it. It's like, hey, we agree to the price. Excellent. When did they talk about terms and financing and release backs and when was the inspection?
Right.
And what about the mold they found? And what about the window pane that was fogged? And what about the termite report?
Right.
What about the they never show them navigating the entire process of actually getting somebody from, hey, we have a deal, to actually closing the transaction. And that is a big part of what your agent actually does for you.
Yeah, but did you notice most of their deals close in like 3 days?
Right. I love it. It's just, you know what? That's why it's so much fun.
Can you close a deal in 3 days?
The fastest I've ever closed a deal in was 7.
And that's going to change as of October 1st.
Right. That's going away. And that's due to a number of new regulations that you'll absolutely want to talk to your agent about, or your lender. You can obviously reach out to either of us. This is Real Estate Exposed. Phone number for talking directly with Todd or I is 800-676-2420. 800-676-2420. And this whole idea of actually getting through the transaction, a lot of the time, most people are unaware that what they're hiring their agent for isn't just to get them the house they want. It's not just to find them the buyer, or what I would call find the market.
Right.
Right? Because our job as agents, my job is not to go turning rocks over and trying to find a buyer. It's actually to find the market
for the property.
But that's why I view the business a little bit differently, and that's why we have the results we do. So it is not just about finding the market and getting a contract done, or finding the right house for you and getting a contract done. That's half the work. Okay, then there's actually navigating the entire disclosure process, inspection process. There's repair negotiations. There are a number of pitfalls that you have to navigate and have the right advisory team in place to be able to do so effectively, and to make sure that what you're going to net on that deal is what you're supposed to net. So that's it's kind of the equivalent of somebody counting their gross income as their net income and not understanding the difference.
Which is a big problem. Big problem.
Well, that was fun. There's a lot more to it. You're going to learn more about it when we are here in studio September 20th.
With Josh Altman from $1 Million Listing Los Angeles.
That's going to be so much fun. You can also reach out directly to Todd or I if you want to talk about anything personal, putting a plan together, buying, selling, refinancing. Give us a phone call, 800-676-2420. You can also connect with us on Facebook. And
what?
Coming up next.
That's what I want to hear. What's coming up next? Coming up next, we're going to talk about
agent quality.
Oh.
We're going to gripe further. Today,
this is a gripe day.
This is Gripe Sunday. It's Real Estate Exposed. News Radio 600 KOGO. Good morning, and we're back with you.
It's a beautiful Sunday, Labor Day weekend.
It is Labor Day weekend.
It is.
We haven't honored Labor Day weekend up to now.
We haven't, and we're on the air on Labor Day weekend.
Todd, that's why you're here.
That's why I'm here.
Because we wouldn't honor Labor Day incorrectly.
Yes.
For you.
Thank you. I do a lot of labor.
What kind?
It's whatever my wife tells me to do.
All right. I'll move on for you.
Thank you.
Just to try to save you.
Thank you. I appreciate it. But you were going to talk about so you're going to talk about agents. What's going on?
Look, I'm just going to gripe, okay? And I'm sorry if this ruffles some feathers. If you're an agent, you have a problem with this, call me.
Okay. So gripe. What's the problem?
I have an issue with the low bar that is set, and that, frankly, I have an issue with you, the home seller, as well, because you accept it, you allow it, you allow this low bar to breed and to just become acceptable. And here's what I mean. This past week, I went on 15 listing appointments. Okay,
that's a busy week.
I sat with 15 different home sellers in their living room.
Right.
And part of the process of actually sitting with the home seller and figuring out what we're going to do with them, how we're going to establish a price strategy to plug into our big marketing plan that is night and day from everything else you see. And here's all, and part of this is
which it is night and day from everything else you see. And if you come to one of our seller seminars, you'll be able to see that yourself.
But I'll give you a little bit of a taste for what we talk about at the workshop, and part of it has to do with just come on, folks. I get it, okay? Real estate's hard. It's a hard industry, and we're not given much direction, okay? I understand. But no matter how many transactions you've done, and I'm talking to you now, agent.
Yes.
No matter how many transactions you've done or not done, can you please hire a professional photographer to sell your $300, $400, $800 million listing that's going to pay you a very reasonable fee to do a professional job? You signed yourself into a fiduciary responsibility in your agency disclosure to your client to do a good job in their best interest. And my God, can we please hire a professional photographer at the very least, because it is embarrassing to me to call myself the same thing that an individual who calls themselves, that finds it acceptable to go to somebody's home and photograph a house with their darn cell phone. It is disgusting. It's ridiculous, and I hate being lumped into that same category. But through preconceptions, of course, when a home seller sees what we do, they understand that it's completely different. But my God, man, for your own sake, just for the sake of feeding your own family better, you might find yourself with more business if you can do things professionally.
Wait, you're telling me that people actually that was a nice gripe.
Sorry. Okay.
You're telling me that
I feel better.
Real estate agents will use their iPhone or their Android phone, and they'll take those pictures and they'll put them on the MLS, which is the multiple listing service, and that's what's going out to the public?
I'm telling you that it seems like at least, a good chunk, all right?
Right.
I'm telling you that a lot of them, it seems like they're hiring a 6-year-old, giving them a 1985 Polaroid camera and saying, here you go have fun and send me my photos.
So you're a hundreds of thousands or $1 million listings are being photographed with like junk.
Well, this goes back to what I call the San Diego disease. The San Diego disease. And here's what it is.
Hit me with it. This is not Ebola.
It's not. It's not. It's sort of Ebola-ish.
Okay.
And as far as the effects of Ebola,
right? When
you see an Ebola victim, and then when you see some of the photos that come out of some agents, it's Ebola-ish. Okay. So it's interesting you knew that, actually. All right. What it comes down to, this San Diego disease, is that everybody gets licensed in this town. We have 20,000 agents running around. And you get these. Too many of them are getting licensed because, hey, if I do $1 million deal, then hey, what a good income. If I could just do a couple of those a year, then great.
Right.
And so it just leads to our industry being so watered down. You, the consumer, you have to go searching for a professional, wading through just all of I'm sorry, okay? But if you really can't just hire somebody to go take professional photos for a real estate transaction, which the primary thing here is presentation and actually making people want to see it who are looking online and driving traffic, and you actually find it acceptable to take dark photos with your cell phone, then come on, man. So here's the San Diego disease. It's that agents here feel like if it's not like $1 million sale, you'll even see this sometimes at that price range, but if it's not like $1 million, then it's a low price point. And that is such garbage. Your $300,000 home that you're entrusting to an agent, your $400,000, $500,000, $600,000 home that you're entrusting to an agent, make sure it's an agent that understands and appreciates the fact that if we were in any other market across the country,
that's a high price. That's a high price.
Really high. If you were in Houston and you gave someone a $400,000 listing, they'd kiss your butt.
Right.
They'd kiss your feet. They'd kiss your butt. They'd do everything possible. They'd pull out all the tricks. They'd do everything they could to impress the marketplace. But in San Diego, well, boy, that's a low price point, or so they think.
Right.
I wonder if they also think that the $10,000, $12,000, $14,000 commission they stand to make is also low, or if they're very happy to have it. That is what I call the San Diego disease. Don't accept it. Demand professionalism. And frankly, you, the seller that accepts it, you share blame. Let's raise the bar in more ways than one, but that is absolutely, at a bare minimum, a place to start.
You're super passionate about this.
Well, come on.
Well, what can they do? What can they do to raise the bar, Dan?
Call us. Call Todd Pianin, Home Street Bank. Call Dan Beer at Windermere Real Estate. The phone number, write this down, 800-676-2420. That's 800-676-2420. I'm Daniel Beer with Windermere Homes.
I'm Todd Pianin with Home Street Bank, and we're a member of the FDIC Equal Housing Lender, NMLS ID number 304014, and we'll see you next Sunday.
Looking forward to being with you.